Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Game Patrol, the weekly show that hasn't been very weekly in a while, about all things related to gaming. I'm your host, Landon Plumley, and yeah, hi. It's been a minute since I've been doing this. I apologize. I really do. It's been a trip. In case you haven't noticed, 2020 has been a whirlwind of a year thus far, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier every time I think that I have, that 2020, I don't want to say necessarily can't be any worse, because it's like it honestly has not been super bad for me. It's just been chaotic, I guess. Because there's been a lot of cool stuff that's happened to me, as well as not so cool stuff. But there's just always something new. And so it has been definitely a learning experience for me and for a lot of other people I know. And so, yeah, if you follow my YouTube channel at Panda Master, I suddenly moved to Michigan, and that's why the podcast just disappeared again. It was with very little notice, so I had a job lined up. Then coronavirus hit and they were closed, and then they opened back up and said, hey, we want you here. How soon can you come? And I was like, oh Lord. So I was given a week's notice, basically, of getting my stuff ready to go, moving 5.5 hours away from my home. And so yeah, but as you can tell, I am currently back home. This is actually my vacation. I am leaving to go back to Michigan in the morning. But I should say, if you can tell, as you can tell, if you're watching the YouTube version of this video, if you're listening to the podcast, might have been a little confused there. But yeah, I am back home right now, and I will be continuing the podcast in Michigan. I haven't quite figured out what the setup will be just quite yet, and that was part of the reason why I didn't immediately start the podcast. Also because I was just settling in, started working full time, just got really busy, and it's just been chaotic. And so now I'm a little more settled and ready to start up this podcast again. And I hopefully will get more back into the swing of things on YouTube and figuring out what type of content I'm going to be making on there, because I want to be more active on there too. So yeah, I apologize for my absence, but I'm back now, and yeah, we're going to get into it. So we're going to talk about the games coming this week, as always. So kind of a slow week, but we've still got some interesting games coming out. So today, for you guys, you can check out Collar Times Malice. It is a port to the Switch. It is coming to the Switch today, and it is a visual novel and follows, excuse me if I butcher these names, Ichika Hoshino, who is patrolling Shinjuku, Tokyo, which I actually know that place because I reviewed a game, Tokyo Dark Remembrance, which takes place in part in Shinjuku, so that name is familiar to me. She is attacked, and a collar with poison is placed around her neck. Following this, she becomes involved with the X-Day incident, which is being investigated by 5 former police officers. So if you're a fan of visual novels and you own a Switch and are looking for something to take on the go or just have a relaxing, potentially stressful time with, Collar X Malice might be that game for you. Also coming out today is The Almost Gone for PC, Nintendo Switch, and iOS. Experience the intricate dioramas and connections of your life and the ripples we all make in this award-winning narrative puzzle game about death, loss, and mental health. So yes, it says it's award-winning, so I was curious as to what they meant by that, because it's a game that hasn't come out yet. Well, I mean, technically now it has for you guys, but for me, it has not, technically, since I'm recording this on a Wednesday night. But, so I guess this game was kind of shown off in a lot of places, like in Europe and, across the seas, and so now it's kind of being officially released worldwide, and so it's sort of one of those things where it's like, it's been heavily awarded thus far. And so it looks like a really interesting game. If you're a big fan of puzzle games, I think this will be a really cool one for you. And this seems like it might be an indie darling. It seems really interesting. Any game about mental health is one that piques my interest. And so this is something I'm kind of, looking at to see how well it does, because it's very intriguing to me. It kind of, it makes me think of a game that I haven't played. I don't know if it's Fez. There's it's a one puzzle game where it's like there's like and like an island in the middle, and you can like turn it and you work your way up it, you know. Not that necessarily the gameplay of the Almost Gone is like that. I'm not sure how the gameplay works, but the screenshots were giving me like that vibe. I don't know if that's Fez or not, because I haven't played it. I own it, but I haven't played. But there's a game that I'm thinking of that I haven't played that I've seen that sort of gameplay and it looked similar to it. But in terms of themes, it gives me some vibes with what happened to Edith Finch. That might not be the exact name, which I'm really upset at because I love that game. I'm upset that I don't remember the name correctly. But what happened to Edith Finch? But yeah, so if you're into some cool indie darlings, this sounds like a cool one. Also, on Tuesday, we will be getting Hunting Simulator 2 for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. With your hunting dog by your side, explore the Texan desert and forests of Colorado and Europe as you track down 33 animal species. Choose your gear from over 160 official weapons, accessories, and clothing items, including Browning, Winchester, and Bushnell. So this looks like a really well-made game. This doesn't seem like something that was just kind of slapped together. It's got a lot of polish to it, it seems like, just based off of some screenshots and overall research that I've done. And so if you are into hunting simulators, if that's your type of thing, I feel like this will be a safe bet for you. Then on Wednesday, we are getting Trackmania for PC. So Trackmania, the racing franchise from Ubisoft Nadeo, is back with the most compelling remake of Trackmania Nations. So this game, yes, is a remake of Trackmania Nations that is actually going to be completely free. However, it's going to have, microtransactions, there's going to be locked content, stuff like that. But it is free to start, and you can play some tracks, have some fun. They're going to have Ghost AI, where it's like it takes like the skill level of other players, and then it has them race alongside you. So it's you're not doing multiplayer, but other racing games have kind of like tried this, where it's like it takes other players' data and incorporates it into the AI, so you're like naturally it's like you're playing multiplayer but not, so you're playing with other people that are similar to your skill level to give you that like natural challenge. And so I thought that was really interesting, and it's free. And so if you are a racing fan or if you're a Trackmania fan or both, it's completely free, so why not try it out? But that is exclusively for PC on Wednesday. So those are the games coming out this week. Next week, we have a really fun one in Iron Man VR, which I'm very excited to play, and still have not played the demo of because I've been very busy. But yeah. Also, I completely forgot to mention, if you are watching on YouTube, you will have seen them and probably are wondering who they are. If you're on the podcast, I have 3 friends with me here today, and that is because on Monday I traveled to Indianapolis to visit with some friends there, and I went to IKEA and I found these delightful creatures that I have now adopted and brought into my home. And they are 3 stuffed pandas. No, they are not real pandas if you are listening on the podcast, unfortunately, but I would like to think they are. So we have the big guy, Snorf, the slightly smaller guy, Pablo, and the baby, Delilah. And they are my pandas, and they are wonderful. And I did sleep with them. They are wonderful. I love pandas, as you can tell by my gamer tag, Panda Master. And so I thought they were adorable, and I have no stuffed pandas. And so I was like, well, here are 3, and they are beautiful, and they fill my heart with joy. So I think they are going to be on this podcast now, from now on. I think they should be the mascots, and just my mascots in general in life. And so that's why I decided, they were sitting nearby when I was setting things up, and I was like, you know what, we should I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so, yes, they are the official Game Patrol mascots and my best friends. So, yeah. But getting into the gaming news of the week, there's some really cool stuff that's been announced this week, but not quite as jam-packed as some other weeks may be. But in the newest news, Microsoft is shutting down Mixer and will now partner with Facebook Gaming, which was something that I don't think anybody saw coming. People might have seen it coming in the past, but the thing is that Mixer just this year started signing a bunch of big names. Ninja signed a contract to stream exclusively with Mixer. So did Shroud and a bunch of other famous streamers that were big on Twitch, like huge Twitch streamers going over to Mixer. And they invested all this money into that platform, and now Microsoft is just pulling the plug. And so everybody that has a contract with them is free to go wherever they want. So Ninja is free to go wherever. He doesn't have to go wherever. Doesn't have to go to Facebook Gaming. But some of the big Mixer streamers are saying like, hey, I'm going to go over to Facebook Gaming because that's where Microsoft is kind of like guiding them to. But again, their contract is void, and so they don't have to go to Facebook Gaming. They can go wherever they want. But yeah, this is interesting. Just didn't really work out. I think last year Mixer had like a 0.2% audience growth, and so I'm not surprised. Personally, I liked Mixer because of how heavily integrated it was into the Xbox. It just made it super easy to stream with. But I totally understand why people weren't a big fan. Like, if you didn't have Xbox, there was no reason for you to like Mixer, and Xbox was the least selling console compared to Switch and PS4 anyway. And so it's understandable. Like personally, as an Xbox owner, I personally appreciated Mixer, but I completely understand why it failed. It wasn't the perfect thing, and it was pretty competitive with Twitch and YouTube. Facebook Gaming, I honestly, I started seeing ads pop up for it a while back, and I didn't realize it was a thing. I still don't see very much of it, so it's interesting that they are partnering with Facebook Gaming. I think it's because they just really would not have liked to bite the bullet and team up with Twitch or YouTube, because that was the main people they were competing against. There was no way in hell that Microsoft would ever partner with Twitch, because I would say that was their main competitor. I could see a slight chance with YouTube, but Facebook Gaming seems to be the logical ally in this, because it's also a pretty non-successful streaming platform, if I'm being honest here, as Facebook is kind of dead for the younger generations anyway. It's mostly where older people are at. Not 100% accurate, but for the most part, at least in my area, and from what I understand, Facebook is kind of not as popular with the younger folks. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm a little sad, because I do really like Microsoft as a company, and I'm a little sad that they pulled the plug on Mixer, but it's not completely unfounded. I understand. I'm not surprised, really. It's just unfortunate, I guess. I don't know. I would have liked to see what they would have done with it going into the Series X. If they would have doubled down, or if they would have been a little more lax with it, tried to expand out into maybe putting it on the PS5, or I don't know, but it was interesting. So next up, Crash Bandicoot is back. Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time. We've got our first gameplay and details revealed. It's coming out in October. Let me pull up the date here, because I didn't mark it down in my notes, but it is coming out October 2nd for PS4 and Xbox One. So this is not a next-gen title, but who knows? It might come over, might be like a smart delivery thing, or might be like a, might be backwards compatible. Who knows? But yeah, we're getting a new Crash Bandicoot game, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I haven't played the Crash Bandicoot games. It could be that I've actually have played a little. No, I haven't. I have not played a Crash Bandicoot game. So there was a GameCube that was in the McDonald's in my hometown, in the Play Place area. And so I used to play Spyro on that when I was 7 years old, or however old I was playing Spyro on that GameCube, and it was flippin' fantastic. So I have played Spyro, the old Spyro game. I never actually owned, the first console I owned was a Wii. First ever thing I owned was a Game Boy Advance SP, aka the best Game Boy. But where was I going with this? So I haven't played a whole lot of older games. If I have, it's because I've just gotten them because of people saying it's an amazing older game. And so I haven't played. I do mean to pick up the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy before 4, because I'm excited for more Crash Bandicoot. It's an excuse for me to play the original games, and so it's something I want to do now. But yeah, we're getting more Crash Bandicoot, and yeah, it's continuing the story from the original trilogy, so it's kind of disregarding all the other games that have come out after Crash Bandicoot 3, and they're just trying, the developers, it's not Naughty Dog. Here, let me pull up if you're interested. It's from the Spyro Reignited Trilogy developer Toys for Bob, which, did they not also develop the Insane Trilogy? No, they didn't. Yeah, they have a brand new art style, which is not the one that Vicarious Visions, who made the Insane trilogy, or you know what I mean, like they revamped it. So it is going to have a different one, but it seems like I'm honestly pretty excited for it because they're following they said that their main goal was, keeping the feel and vision of the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy, but then also adding on to it. It's going to have new kinds of platforming. It's going to have all sorts of like evolutions and things like that. So it's like the heart of Crash Bandicoot, but modernized, and I'm really excited for it. Like how they described it got me excited, and I have high hopes for this game. I don't think it's like a cash grab. I don't think it's just more Crash Bandicoot or like a weird modern version of Crash that's not really that faithful to the old stuff. I think it's going to be a nice blend of faithfulness to the original games and modernizations to get new players to enjoy it. Is what the developers talking about it. That's what it sounds like to me, and how they've explained it. And I don't know, and obviously the developers are going to think their game is good, and they're going to say they're going to talk it up. But just, I don't know, it's just the words that they use, the things that they said about the game. It's just I trust them, and I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm not 100% convinced, but like I like what I'm hearing, I like what I'm seeing, and so yeah, I think it is appropriate to get excited about this game. So Crash Bandicoot is coming back with a brand new game, not a remaster, remake, or anything, brand new stuff, and yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. Next up, Min Min from ARMS is the first DLC fighter in the Fighter Pack Volume 2 for Smash Bros. Ultimate, which honestly, like I guess it was announced, like I guess it was kind of teased a few days ago, but I never even noticed. It just kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I was like, what is, like, what? I missed the video. I still haven't even watched the video about it. I just heard about it and was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I love Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It is one of my favorite games on the Switch. I would say my favorite, but Breath of the Wild, it's flipping phenomenal. But I would say that Smash is my second favorite game on the Switch, closely followed by Mario Kart, because they're just so good. They're so good, guys. But yeah, Min Min is coming, which a lot of people were like, a lot of people predicted this for a long time. Ever since they announced DLC fighters, they're gonna bring an ARMS character. Everybody knew it was gonna happen eventually. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, I haven't seen the video, but I think the arms are going to be cool. I really should have watched it. We're also getting some cool Mii Fighter costumes, like the Vault Boy from Fallout, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're getting Ninjara. We're getting some Tekken characters, some Splatoon stuff, all sorts of awesome stuff. They also announced new amiibo, which I'm super excited about because I actually just started collecting amiibo. So we're getting Persona 5's Joker and Dragon Quest XI's Hero released as amiibo this fall. So they also said that the team plans for all DLC characters to receive amiibo figures. So that's super cool. Yeah, actually, no, I don't have it with me, I think. Yeah, I took it to Michigan. But I do have the box for it, though, on here. Because I did take it out of the box, but I kept the box as clean as possible, just in case for some reason. I don't know. I just like how it looks outside the box. It was a tough decision. But the first amiibo I ever bought was semi-recently. It was when it came out. It was the Dark Samus amiibo, which is extremely well done. Like, the amount of detail they went and put into it is really cool. I also like the Joker amiibo. I don't believe the Hero amiibo is finished yet, like with the look we got at it. I think they're planning on adding some stuff, but I could be wrong. But the Joker one appears to be finished, and I like the little blue Persona stuff going on. I also just started playing Persona 5 Royal this week, before The Last of Us came out, which we're going to talk about. But so yeah, I have a newfound appreciation for Joker. So I also really like playing Joker in Smash. I think he's a really awesome character. And so, yeah, the amiibo got me excited. And I think I'm going to pick up both of these because I also really love playing as Hero in Smash. And I need to play Dragon Quest XI. And that might be one of my next games after I beat The Last of Us and then Persona 5. then I don't know. I got too many games I'm trying to play right now. So yeah, Min Min is coming. That's super cool. Then we're getting a new skate game, guys. After all this time of talking, they say they're not doing new skate game, not doing new skate game. They're making a new skate game, guys. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a skate remake. We don't know if it's Skate 4. They didn't say anything. They said Skate Forever at the end, and so people think they're going to make a play on it, and it's going to be called Skate Forever. And it's going to be like a games as a service game, which I would completely see as a thing for next gen. And it's going to kind of piggyback off of the success of Pro Skater 1 and 2, and kind of like, making people want to play skateboarding games again. And then Skate Forever is going to come out and just, once the hype dies down for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, it'll be like, here we go, boom, and just be the skateboarding game for next gen. And so, yeah, a lot of people have been wondering how long this game's been in development for, what they're doing. A lot of people have been like thinking, we're going to get it pretty soon. I think not. For the simple fact that somebody came out and said, I forget who it was. This is a few weeks ago. They came out and said that they approached them to help them with it was like a mobile version of Skate 3 or whatever, and he just said no, make Skate 4 already or whatever. And they said there was no plans on making a Skate 4 right now or whatever, something along those lines. It was something like that. And so the fact that people have been, especially recently, campaigning for a Skate 4 makes me think that this was a very recent thing, that they're just like, okay, we need to make a skate video game. And then they're just like, we're going to shove it into this stream just so that we can get people off our backs about skate, because this is going to get some hype, and then we can crank out one. And yeah. So I don't think this has been in development for very long. Like, I'm talking maybe like a month of being in development. I think this is very fresh, and I think that's why it was announced so weirdly, by having the creative directors talk and not be detailed at all about saying what this game is, because I don't think they inherently know yet, because I think this is very early on in development, and I don't think we see it anytime soon. I think there's a small chance of fall 2021, depending on how quickly they want to push this out, but certainly not this year, and very likely 2022, if not even later. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't expect a skate game anytime soon. I think it is very, very early in development, and I think it was EA just trying to appease the audience, which they did. And I don't necessarily think this is going to be a bad game. I just think that people shouldn't expect it anytime soon. I think this was 100% due to people yelling at them to do it. And they're just trying to do anything to make people happy after the fiasco that has been this console generation for EA. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm taking a drink. My podcast listeners that, have been getting all the stuff. I got Gatorade, so we're trying to be healthier. I've also put a fair amount of alcohol in my system this vacation, so I need to put some healthier stuff in my body. I drink a lot of water while in Michigan, though, so I'm not causing too much damage to my body most of the time. And then finally, I had to throw it in there. There was some other stuff that there's some other news that happened this week, but I have to talk about my baby. It's made me very sad. In fact, I'm getting a little emotional even talking about it. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed once again, just a couple of months, to November 19th. So I will actually read the entire message for you guys, because it's something that I believe needs to be read in its entirety. So this comes from the co-founder of CD Projekt Red and the head of studio, Marcin Urwinski and Adam Badowski. We have decided to move the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 from September 17th to November 19th. Those of you who are familiar with the way we make games know that we won't ship something which is not ready. Ready when it's done is not just a phrase we say because it sounds right, it's something we live by even when we know we'll take the heat for it. At the same time, we are fully aware that making such a decision costs us your trust, and trading trust for additional time is one of the hardest decisions a game developer can make. And despite... There's a typo there. That upsets me. It should say, and despite that, but it just says, and despite, we think it's the right decision for the game. Despite we think maybe it's not. I don't. This is weird wording. Probably because they are Polish and this has been translated. And despite we think it's the right decision for the game, we'd still like to apologize for making you wait longer. Our intention is to make Cyberpunk 2077 something that will stay with you for years to come. In the end, we hope you understand why we did what we did. At the time we are writing these words, Cyberpunk 2077 is finished both content and gameplay wise. The quests, the cutscenes, the skills, and items, all the adventures Night City has to offer, it's all there. But with such an abundance of content and complex systems interweaving with each other, we need to properly go through everything, balance game mechanics, and fix a lot of bugs. A huge world means a huge number of things to iron out, and we will spend the additional time doing exactly that. This week, journalists from all over the world are starting to independently play the game. We are eager and quite stressed to hear their opinions, as well as see your reactions when they publish their previews right after we aired Night City Wire on the 25th of June. We hope this will satisfy some of your hunger for the game as we work to polish it for the November launch. Thank you. So, honestly, there's kind of a lot to unpack there. So basically, Cyberpunk 2077 has kind of gone, I'm gonna say silver, because it's not gone gold, because the bug patching process is a important chunk of development time, but it's done. The side quests, the main game, all of it's done. They're just fixing stuff, and the fact that they delayed it 2 months and we are still July, August, September, October, November, 5 months away from the game means that they are taking the time to make sure that this has like the least amount of bugs as possible, because they have shipped this game out to people. There are people that are playing this game and I don't know about it if it's in its entirety. It was kind of weird. They weirdly worded it. It just said they're starting to independently play the game. So I don't know if they shipped them a demo or what. We're not sure exactly what they're letting the journalists get their hands on, but they're letting people play the game. I'm interested to hear how buggy it is, to see like how much work the developers have on their hands right now. But they're taking 5 months, maybe even longer, because we don't know how long they've necessarily been done with this, just to work on bugs. And here's the thing. The Witcher 3 is one of the best games ever made. And so I completely trust CD Projekt Red. Take all the time you need. I am so excited for this game. It sucks that I have to wait another 2 months, but it's for the right reasons, and I am completely okay with waiting just a little bit longer. It's going to be nice, especially because with console launches, they're not always going to be a bunch of awesome games to show off the new console. And since it is going to utilize smart delivery and there's probably going to be backwards compatible, all of that, I'll be able to play Cyberpunk 2077 on my Series X. And it'll be nice because, if there aren't a lot of cool games, hopefully there are. We've got one that's pretty much guaranteed to be one that I will be able to play around the time of the new console launches that will look, I'm sure, just as good as these next-gen games, because it's an amazing looking game and an amazing game, and it's just, I'm so excited for it, and I'm very excited to watch the Night City Wire. Hopefully before this recording goes up, or hopefully, I don't know what I'm saying, when this podcast goes up, it'll hopefully go up before, but I don't know, it depends on how things are gonna go with my work schedule. It probably won't, actually. This podcast will probably go up after it airs, but yeah, I had a point, but I actually don't think I did. I think I just rambled too much, but it's a little saddening, but again, I'm excited. Also, something that happened, I believe it was last week, so that's why it wasn't included in necessarily like the main gaming news, but it's something related to Cyberpunk 2077. They announced that the Stadia version would not would not come out alongside all the others, but that was before this delay. So I'm wondering if the Stadia version will launch on November 19th as well, because I don't think they have said anything about the Stadia version since they've announced this delay. So it could be that maybe now it will hit day and date, or maybe it won't. I mean, they said it was supposed to come out in 2020. So either it makes probably like a December release, or it will come day and date now. So we'll see what happens there. I will not be picking it up on Stadia as much as I do love Stadia. Eventually, I probably will, but I just mean at launch. I'm not getting on Stadia because the Series X hardware is better than Stadia's hardware, and so it will look better on Series X. And so it's just, as much as I love Stadia and I love not having to download a game, it will look better on my Series X. So sorry. But anyway, that's the gaming news for the week. And now getting into the big boy, The Last of Us Part 2. This is what I wanted to talk about this week, because this is a game that we have been waiting for 7 years, and it is out. It is out in the wild. I wanted to have beaten it by now, but this I keep calling it a vacation. It's been busy. I mean, not that I've been working or anything like that. I've been hanging out with people and having a relatively good time. There's been ups and downs. So I mean, it is technically a vacation, but I've been very busy reconnecting with friends because, you know, I am so far away from them now that I live in Michigan. It's been nice catching up and all that. But I brought my PlayStation and my TV home with me so that I could play The Last of Us if I had time. I just didn't. But I am 10 hours into it. I put 10 hours in. I left Saturday night. So it came out on Friday. In the time from midnight on Friday to 3:30 p.m. on well, not even 3:30 p.m. It would have been like, it was, because the time I played was from midnight on Friday to 11:30 on Friday. I put 10 hours into the game because I haven't played it since, right? Because I pulled an all-nighter and played it for like 8 hours, and then I went to work that day, came home, played it for another 2 hours, and then I finally went to sleep. And then I haven't played it since because I worked Saturday and then left to come back home. And so I haven't played it since, but I put in a crap ton of hours into it, as much as I could. And so I'm hoping that I can play it. I should have more time to play it now that I'm going home. So I'm hoping I can have it beat for next week. Also because Iron Man VR comes out on the 3rd, so I'm just hoping to have it beat before that comes out. Yeah, so, but I'm 10 hours in. I'm almost halfway through the game, and yeah, first impressions, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Do I think it's a masterpiece? I mean, it remains to be seen, because I don't like talking about criticisms of a game before I've necessarily finished it. At least when it's a game of this caliber, of like, it's really, really good, because it could be that my issues with it are resolved. For instance, my favorite film of all time, Joker. I know it's recent. I don't necessarily like saying it's my favorite movie, but I literally think it is a flawless movie. I thought it had a very slow start when I first watched it, but then finishing it, I realized, you know, it's basically, it's setting things up, and there's so much depth in the first act that's like below the surface that I think is just crafted so well that, you know, it became retroactively not slow to me, because I just spend that time analyzing and looking and just this and that, and it's not slow for me anymore. So yeah, I don't like necessarily critiquing a game before I finished it, because they might be done for reasons that I just don't know about yet. So my one issue with The Last of Us Part 2 is something story related, and it is spoilery, so I won't talk about it. What I want to do is wait until a couple weeks after the game is out. So I'm hoping to do an extra special version of the podcast, a bonus episode of a spoiler cast of The Last of Us Part 2, a week from this Friday. So that'll be 2 weeks after the game's out, where I just talk all spoilers about The Last of Us Part 2, and just, yeah, what I think. So that's another reason why I want to finish the game, so that I can talk about that. And yeah, that will give time for people to play through the game, including myself. And so if you want to talk all spoilers, and I'll get into all of that. But overall, that's why, like, I don't want to say it's a masterpiece right now, because if that continues, if the part that irks me continues to be like that, that's why I'm like, but it's still an amazing game. Like right now it's sitting at a 9 out of 10 for me, because it's so phenomenal. I mean, I cried 2 hours in, because of something that was spoiled, and I'm still not 100% sure what was spoiled, because I avoided the spoilers, but I do know that it is at least part of the spoiler, if not the big if not all of the spoiler. I've avoided looking into what the spoilers are now because I'm still not 100% sure that that is all the spoiler was, because from what I was told, it spoiled a bunch of the game, and I thought it spoiled something towards the ending, and I'm not at the ending yet, so I haven't looked into all the spoilers yet. But yeah, so there's a big spoiler. It made me cry. Again, I'm not talking spoilers at all this podcast, so no worries, but I cried 2 hours in, real tears. It still makes me emotional to think about. But yeah, it's an amazing game. It plays super well. The gameplay is awesome. The story is phenomenal. I love Ellie. I love the characters. They just do so well with making the characters intriguing. All of the characters, protagonists, antagonists, this and that. They do so well at creating a human story in this apocalypse in a way that The Walking Dead never really could. Not to bash on The Walking Dead, because I thought The Walking Dead was amazing, at least the first few seasons. I'm saying that it did an even better job, and the first game did as well. I'm saying the second game is no different. Last of Us Part 2, an absolutely phenomenal game that I enjoy, and I think does not deserve, from what I've experienced thus far, the hate that is coming from the neckbeards. And that's something that I really want to talk about, because yeah, there's this huge thing. It is getting review bombed on Metacritic, which the Xbox diehards are eating up. And y'all already know, if you listen to this podcast regularly, or if you just know me really well, I am an Xbox fan over PlayStation. I also easily admit that PlayStation, at least this generation, has much better games. And so I have both. I enjoy both. I prefer the Xbox One X over the PS4 Pro. That is no secret. But it is so ridiculous to me that people are crapping on The Last of Us Part 2 if I know all of the spoilers, and I think, because it sounds like a big part of it, and I'm going to say this in a non-spoilery way, teetering around, is that people are not fans of they say that the writing of the game is bad because of just overuse of misdirection and misleading, and just having things happen in the game simply to shock viewers, is what I'm generally surmising from the anger. Here's the thing, from what I've played so far, and again, if I still don't know what all the spoilers are, just from what I've noticed thus far and everything, I do not see a problem with the writing at all. I think that it is all worked into the plot extremely well. I think that it isn't like there's justification for it being there. It's not there. It's realistic. It's not like it's like, oh, that simply, if anything, it is completely realistic, because, and again, I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers, but a lot of times things just kind of like work. Yeah, I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers right now, but in a lot of times in games or any form of media, things just sort of work out for characters or for plot points. They just kind of get conveniently tied up. The Last of Us Part 2 does not do that. It is a gripping, very realistic take on the zombie apocalypse, and honestly, I think that type of storytelling should be applauded. But these fans of the last game, I would assume, or maybe they are just people that want to hate on PlayStation, I don't know, I think it's a little bit of both. They are bashing this game for taking these narrative steps of being so, I don't even know. And again, like I said, there could be a major thing that I'm missing, and I might agree with them in the end. It's hard because I haven't finished the game, and so I don't want to read the spoilers and it be more than I think it is. But from what I've played thus far, which is a fair amount, I am loving the storytelling in the game. Like I said, the middle section of the game, and I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, and I'm going to try to explain it a little bit. I'm trying to find a way to explain this. They're trying to make me empathize with a character that I desperately do not want to empathize with. And so it's like, that's something that I take issue with. And again, because I mean, Naughty Dog could totally turn it around on me. Like, they could totally make it to where it's like, it's justified, and I'm like, okay. But that's my only issue with the game, is they are really, really pushing me to bond with this character that I really don't want to bond with. And if you know what's happening in the game, you can probably pretty easily guess who I'm talking about and what the situation I'm talking about. But I just hate it. I really hate it. And it's not anything like I hate the game now. It's just not something I want to be doing. I want to be doing something else, and the game is just pushing me to do this thing that I don't want to do. But the first 8 or 9 hours of the game, completely flawless in my mind. Honestly, a masterpiece. It's kind of dipping right now for me, but I'm not like wanting to put the game down and never play it again. It does not deserve a 3.5 user score on Metacritic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And here's the thing that really pisses me off about it, is that a solid 80% of these reviews are people who have not even played the freaking game. And I was really close to using stronger language there, because it makes me so upset, because there is so much ignorance in the gaming community and so much toxicity. And I think part of it is because coronavirus 2020 has not been a kind year, and so people are upset, and I understand that. There's a lot of stuff going on outside of gaming that is getting people riled up for good reasons. It is an election year. We have tons of racist pieces of crap spewing nonsense. We have all sorts of stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, Black Lives Matter. You put out fires. You don't say, what about my house? And if you don't agree with that, you're a dick. And so people are upset. But especially because this is a new console year, you know, the whole console wars thing is ramping up. People are getting more and more toxic. And I talked about this in last time's podcast. It technically wasn't last week, but, you know, episode 11, I talked about the ever increasing toxicity with gamers because of us getting new consoles this year. It's sort of, you know, digging up a lot of stuff about the console wars. But yeah, there's so much unnecessary BS with The Last of Us Part 2, like people's reaction to The Last of Us Part 2. And part of it isn't... I've been trying to follow Neil Druckmann's Twitter, and there's been some stuff. Jason Schreier has been kind of going after Neil Druckmann a little bit. There's been a lot of stuff, a lot of things, people reporting that it is not pleasant to work in the Naughty Dog studio. There's a lot of crunch. There's a lot of stuff that is not good for the workers. And so Kotaku has not been a friend, and Jason Schreier in particular has not been a friend of Naughty Dog. But then there was a thing where Neil Druckmann retweeted something or like mentioned something about someone comparing The Last of Us Part 2 to Schneider's List, and Jason Schreier being Jewish took offense to that, you know, saying that they're comparing a zombie game to the Holocaust, like a movie about the Holocaust, which I understand the offense, but I also completely understand that, you know, it was not intentional. Like, it's just, it was a misstep, and, you know, everybody apologized. But people have been kind of, I don't know, I just feel like people have really been trying to get at Neil Druckmann lately, and I've been trying to tell, you know, if it is justified, because again, with the work crunch, I don't believe that he's anti-Semitic. I just, yeah, I think I'm on the right side here. I'm not necessarily saying that Neil Druckmann is a perfect human being, mostly because of the whole crunch thing. But I also don't know what influence he has on that. I don't know if the creative director, you know, that's usually more of a corporate thing. I don't know if it would be Sony or whatever. I don't even necessarily think that itself is Neil Druckmann's fault. But yeah, he's been getting some heat lately for things, especially the whole writing of this game. And I don't see a problem with it. And the fact that people who have not even played this game are condemning it and making people think that this is a bad game. My best friend asked me if the users were right, if you know, if The Last of Us Part 2 is a bad game. I was like, no, was like, no. I told him, like, honestly, I said, well, I haven't beaten the game, so, you know, and I don't know the spoilers, so, you know, I don't necessarily know for 100% certainty, but from what I've played, which is half the game, no, it's an absolutely phenomenal game, and I heavily recommend it. And I think that will hold up. I do genuinely believe it will hold up, unless there's just something huge that I don't know about. I did see a comment that mentioned a twist that I'm not sure was just them trying to avoid spoiling it for someone just lurking in the comments section, and it was a reference to something I already know about, or if it is something that I don't know about. And so it could be that I don't know about something that is in reference to the ending of part 2. But I'm fairly confident that it is not a 3.5, especially because the game reviewers did review it so highly. And I know people like to say that reviews are paid for and, you know, everything, it's biased or this or that. And I forgot to silence my phone, but it's fine. You probably couldn't even hear it anyway. It's pretty far away. But to be honest, it's bullshit. It's complete BS. And I hate it. I really hate people that do stuff like this, that just create unnecessary drama and hate for something that they aren't even fully aware of and they can't say themselves, you know. And the story is just one aspect of a game. It is one aspect. You got to look at the gameplay, everything else. And it's like, even if you think that the game, like that the story is not good, the writing is not good, you know, there's so many aspects of a game that you can't tell unless you play the game yourself. And so I wish there was a way for Metacritic to moderate the user reviews. And it's difficult, and I don't think there is really a way, you know, besides just like having you prove that you own the game somehow. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so hard, and that's the reason why this is an issue. And I don't think it's Metacritic's fault for this. I don't think that there's anything that they really need to be doing, because it is a difficult situation to navigate. But it's just stupid. It's gamers being hateful and ignorant and just stupid. So yeah, hoping to finish up The Last of Us Part 2 within this next week. That will probably be what I'm spending most of my free time doing. But yeah, I love it so far. I'm hoping that I continue to love it, and I will let you guys know if my opinion changes next week. But getting into the games that I've been playing this week, obviously I've been playing The Last of Us Part 2, and I mentioned that I started playing Persona 5 Royal. I've never played a Persona game before. I've never played the original Persona 5, and so I bought Persona 5 Royal shortly after it came out, installed it, had it ready to go, but I was playing Final Fantasy at the time, and so I just didn't have the time to get into it. And so I was like, I want to play this game. I played it the night before The Last of Us Part 2 came out. Technically 2 nights before. It was the Wednesday night. But then I played some more of it before the night before, like right before The Last of Us Part 2 came out. I played a little bit more. Then I took like a 30-minute nap, and then I played The Last of Us Part 2 because it was midnight. And so yeah, I really, really, really love that game. Like, if you are into RPGs, I would heavily recommend it. I know it's a really long game. I do intend on playing it once I finish The Last of Us Part 2, depending on when I finish The Last of Us Part 2, because, you know, like I said, Iron Man VR is coming out July 3rd, and so I do plan on playing that. And I've also got a bunch of Stadia games, and there's other things that I want to play, but I do plan on finishing it, however many months that takes me. But it's really, really fun. I really love the story and the game. I love that game. I think it's really fun. I'm a huge RPG fan, and I've been getting into more JRPGs lately. I can't necessarily say that I'm a JRPG connoisseur. I probably could not list a whole lot of JRPGs that I've played, much less beaten. But I've been really enjoying the ones that I've been playing recently. And so Persona 5 Royal is really, really good. And then I've played a lot of Stadia games. So I brought my Chromecast with me so that I could play Stadia, because I had, you know, visiting with friends, trying to find some co-op games. And so I've played a bunch of co-op games. But one game I played that is not co-op is Metro 2033 Redux. It just got dropped on Stadia along with Last Light. And so I picked it up like the idiot I am. I own it. on, I think I own it on Xbox. I know for sure I own it on PC, but I was like, yeah, why not Stadia too? And so I played a little bit of that the other night, because it came out there, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I've played a lot of co-op games because I had some friends over and I wanted to try out some things. So I played a lot of games I've not played before. Stacks on Stacks on Stacks, which is a really fun puzzle. Like it's kind of like it's a stacking game with kind of like a Tetris thing. So you've got random boxes of like random sizes and whatever will slowly drop from the sky, and you've got to stack them up to a certain length. And they also have these mystery boxes which will have some sort of thing that could either help you or hurt you depending on how well you do in these like mini games that the mystery boxes will trigger. And so it's a fun game that you could play with somebody else. I definitely think it's more fun to play with somebody else, because then you do one box and then player two does the next box, and so on and so forth. It's a really fun co-op game, but you can also have some fun playing by yourself. Also, I played some Trials Rising for the first time, and again, co-op. It was really Trials is just a fun game in general. Spitlings, which is another Stadia exclusive, where it's a fun co-op game that I would probably describe as a mix between Super Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac in terms of, I would say in structure, it's like Super Meat Boy in terms of like, repetitive deaths, and just sort of like it's not like a dungeon game or anything like that in terms of like how there's levels and stuff like that, but like the combat is like Binding of Isaac, of like shooting out projectiles, except you're shooting out your teeth. So you can collect your teeth after you shoot them, but if you don't collect them, you can run out of teeth, and you have to like hold B to reload them, and it takes a really long time. So it's best to just try to collect your teeth. But it's a really fun game too, and it gets pretty difficult. So that was a fun co-op game. I played Just Dance 2020, which was interesting. I honestly, I kind of had a good time. You use your phone for it on Stadia, and I believe the new consoles and all that, because I only played Just Dance on the Wii. That was all I ever knew. And so this was my first time playing Just Dance on another system, and you use your phone. I don't know how well it tracked, if I'm just not a super good dancer or what. It felt like it didn't track extremely well. But you download an app and then you use your phone as the thing. And it was kind of awkward to hold the phone, especially because I have a bigger phone. It's over there. But I have a Pixel 3 XL. If I had a smaller phone, maybe I would have done better. I don't know. But yeah, so I played that. It was kind of fun and nostalgic, especially playing some of the older songs that have been on older ones. Because if you don't know, there's this service called Just Dance Unlimited, which you pay for, except I have a 30-day free trial since I just bought the game, that gives you access to this ever-changing library of songs, much of which are just songs from older Just Dance. They'll just bring them back from the older games. And so, my friend Justin and I had some fun playing that, but probably not something I would play by myself. It's probably, like a party game you play with maybe some kids that or something like that. Played a little bit of Serious Sam Collection, Serious Sam 3. It's a really fun co-op game, real Doom-like, basically co-op Doom. I think I would say that. It's really fun. And then I played some Borderlands 3. I had it on the Xbox, but I bought it for Stadia because I saw my friend Matt, who I knew was a big Borderlands fan, and so I was like, let's play Borderlands 3. Which I assumed would be local co-op because the Xbox version was, but then it's not on Stadia. So I actually logged on to my friend's account to play with him because he owns Borderlands 3 on Stadia, so we could both play. And I had to play on my phone, and I didn't bring a USB-C cable to connect the Stadia controller, so I had to use the touch controls. And let me tell you, playing a shooter with mobile touch controls is not fun. But I managed. I technically never died. I did get downed a couple times. Twice I survived, I killed somebody, I fought for my life. The third time Mark did revive me just before I died, so I technically never died. But yeah, it was a little difficult, but the touch controls for Stadia work pretty well. I was good. I just, shooters, not a good game to use the touch controls with, but the touch controls were pretty intuitive and pretty nice, and I enjoyed them. So bravo for Stadia for that. It was a nice way to try those out. But yeah, so I've played a lot of games this past week, just a little bit of a lot of games, and then I've played a lot of Persona 5 and The Last of Us Part 2. I think I put 7 hours into Persona 5, so Yeah, and I haven't really played a whole lot of video games lately, so this week's been a nice change of pace for me, and I'm hoping I can continue that. But yeah, so that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. I'm pretty good on time. I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, so next week, we'll be in July. Crazy. It'll be July 2nd for you guys, right? I'm checking the calendar here. Yes, it will. And so we're going to do our wrap up of June. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure The Last of Us Part 2 is the best game of the month. But we're going to, wrap up our June, talk about what's coming in July. Spoiler alert, Iron Man, Ghost of Tsushima, and one other game. Oh, Deadly Premonition 2, which I'm super excited about. And I think I need to grab the first one because I've never played that. But, yeah. So cool stuff to talk about next week, and hopefully we get some awesome news about Cyberpunk. And yeah, there was an Avengers thing yesterday for you guys that I just didn't hear anything substantial about, but I'm still kind of excited for. I'm definitely going to pick it up at launch. But yeah, so hopefully we'll have some awesome stuff to talk about next week. Thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys next week in the brand new setup. Hopefully I'll be back for good this time. Like I said, 2020 has been crazy, so I can't promise anything nowadays. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, listening, whatever you do. And I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.